When I was done with my time in Washington, I went back out to California to prospect for gold. I went up into the mountains. I didn't find any gold. Prospecting was hard work, and I didn't want to work that hard. I just wanted the gold. I didn't find any there, but what I did find and discover was the most remarkable story of Jim Blaine grandfather's old ram. And that was worth the trip. Now, Jim Blaine was the kind of fella that had one of those memories that can't steer a straight course. Every time he'd start telling a story and he'd get to somebody or something in it, he'd stop and have to tell you all about it. And every time he did, it took him further and further away from the remarkable story of his grandfather's old ram. And I'd like to share that with you today. It's a remarkable story, as I said. First time I saw Jim Blaine was up in Angels Camp, up in the Sierras. He was sitting on a powder keg, smoking. And his story went something like this. See here, my grandfather, he bought himself this old ram and fetched it home and turned it loose in the meadow. Bought it from a fella up in Siskiyou County. Next morning, he come out to look at that ram and dropped himself a 10-cent piece in the grass and was bent down, so fumbling in the grass looking for that 10-cent piece. Well, that ram was up the hill paying attention. And my grandfather, he wasn't paying no attention because he was too concerned about finding that 10-cent piece in the grass, you see. Well, my grandfather, he's bending down here looking in the grass, and Smith, or Calaveras, was standing right over there. And my grandfather bent down like so, and that ram was up the hill, saw him in that attitude, and took it for an invitation, and bent his head down. And my grandfather's over here, and he's fumbling in the grass, and that ram is paying attention. He lowered his head. Well, no, it weren't Smith. It weren't Smith the Calaveras at all. No. It was Smith the Tulare. I don't see how I got them Smiths turned around like that. Smith the Tulare. Why, them Smiths the Tulare are the finest Southern blood in these here United States, on the side of the line, don't you know? All right then, so Smith the Tulare is a standing over here. And my grandfather, he's a bending down here, fumbling in the grass, looking for that 10-cent piece. And that ram took it for an invitation, and here he come. Down the hill, 30 miles an hour, with business in his eye. And my grandpa, he's fumbling in the grass, and that ram's a coming. And no, it wasn't Smith or Tulare at all. It was Smith the Sacramento. That's who was a standing over there. I don't see how I got them Smiths all mixed up like that. It was Smith the Sacramento. Finest Southern blood in these here United States. Well, one of them married a Whitaker, don't you know? I'm sure you heard about it. Mariah Whitaker. Now there's a girl. Why, if she had something and you wanted it, well, you were welcome to it and glad to have it. She was a kindly, kindly girl, a heart as big as all outdoors. She had a glass eye. And she lent it to Flora Ann Baxter, who had none. Now, Flora Ann was a fairly large girl, and that eye was a number 7, and Flora Ann was excavated to a 14. And she borrowed it to receive company, and every time she blinked, that eye would turn over. Oh, it was a beautiful eye, that store-bought eye. It was blue and creamy on the side that you look at, and gilt on the other. Oh, and her other eye was kind of a yellowy brown eye, kind of tranquil as those kind of eyes are, but they set each other off quite nice and worked quite well together. And every time she blinked and that eye turned over, the other one would stand still. And the more excited she got, and the more she blinked, the faster that eye would go. First blue, then gilt, then blue, then gilt. Well, the grown-ups understood. But it always made the children cry. Flora Ann had a sister, Susie. Little Susie. She married a missionary, and they went off into the ocean to preach the good news to the cannibals out there somewhere in the middle of the wide blue ocean. And they ate her. Ate him too, which was quite unusual because it weren't their practice to eat the missionary, just the family. Said as how they were powerful sorry. Said it doesn't usually happen that way, and they apologized. Said it was an accident. Accident. There ain't no such thing as an accident. Why, there ain't nothing that happens in this whole world that don't happen by some special providence, by some higher power than us, and we don't always know what that purpose is for. Accident. That's the way it was with that missionary that was looking for the missing missionary and his wife. It's a special providence. They didn't know what the reason was, and we shouldn't know what it was. It's none of our concern. But it was no accident. And you want to talk about an accident, look at my Uncle Lem. And then tell me about an accident. Just take a look at my Uncle Lem. Why, my Uncle Lem was downtown one day, leaning up against a scaffold, sick or drunk or something, with his dog. And there was an Irishman up on that scaffold about the 3rd story with a hog of bricks, and his foot slipped, and down he come, bricks and all, and smashed the ever-loving aspirations out of a young fella walking by. Everybody said, what a terrible accident. Well, it wasn't no accident, it was a special providence. They said, special providence? Well, the dog was there. Why didn't he land on the dog? Well, first of all, a dog can't have no special providence. And besides that, the dog would have seen him coming and moved. Why, you can't hit a dog with an Irishman. You just can't hit a dog with an Irishman no matter how hard you try. What was that dog's name? You recall that dog's name? Uncle Lem's dog. He got it from the Wheelers. Jasper. That was that dog's name, Jasper. He was a remarkable dog. He was a composite dog. Now, a composite dog just ain't no riffraff. composite dog has all of the components of the finest parts of that particular dog breed. And everything that's left over creates the mongrel, the riffraff that's left over. He got that dog from the Wheelers. You probably heard about the Wheelers. George G. Wheeler had a carpet factory. And one day, he was out there meandering around in the carpet factory. And the machinery done snatched him up. And there he goes. You couldn't even see him. You could hear him whiz by as he made his way around the factory. Well, the fella just can't go home the same way that he came after an experience like that. He got wove up into 39 yards of the finest 3-ply carpeting. His widow was powerful sad. Wanted to do something special for him, which is kind of remarkable. She bought all 39 yards. And she didn't want to roll it up. I say she wanted to do something special. She wanted to lay him out, you see. And so she went looking for a tunnel. But there were no tunnels for sale. So she built a mahogany box and put him in there and built a pedestal. She put him up on a hill and painted a sign out there. Here lie the immortal remains of George W. Wheeler. Go forth and do likewise. And at that point, Jim Blaine had fallen asleep every time he told that story, and he'd never finish, and we never did find out what happened to his grandfather and that remarkable old ram.